Hello, and welcome back to Women4Wealth. So today's topic has been one that has come up several times as of late. So as you look at social media, particularly I've been watching some videos on Facebook, and it's been talking about relationships. There are a ton of men on Facebook complaining about women. They're saying that women aren't available, that, women don't want to date, women don't want to get married, settle down and have kids anymore. And, a lot of these guys on Facebook, in their minds, they still have traditional roles. They think that the wife should want to get married, should want to be a mom, should want to cook, clean, and take care of their family. And that's just not the way it is anymore. And so men are kind of struggling with what they think women should be and what women are. So my thing is, you have to accept that people change, society changes. It's 2024. It is not the way it was, 50 years ago. 50 years ago, things were different. A lot of women were still dependent on men financially. And now women just are not dependents of men anymore. And so women have different expectations, wants, and needs than men do a lot of times. So let's kind of talk about that, because this channel is to help women build wealth. It's Women4Wealth. So how do we get women wealthy? Well, the first thing we do is we help them understand their relationship with money, which we've talked a lot about, the emotional attachments and negativity women a lot of times have around money. Break that down, start building a plan, get to financial independence, and become self-sufficient. And so once women are self-sufficient and they no longer need a man to financially take care of them, and women are independent, men are going to have to change. Men are going to have to look in the mirror and say, okay, what's my value? If you want to get married, you want to have a woman in your life, which all the Facebook videos show that they do, they have this desire, then, men, you're going to have to decide, okay, how can I show value to a woman? They're financially self-sufficient. So just providing a paycheck is no longer going to cut it. Let me talk a little bit, just briefly, about my personal life. So I think I mentioned before, my husband's first wife, and he had a very traditional family role dynamic. So he worked 2 jobs. He was in the Air Force and he worked an additional job. She did not work at all. She did nothing. She stayed home and had kids and took care of the kids. And so what happened was, honestly, they just grew apart. They never did anything together because he was never home. He was working one of 2 jobs or he was sleeping. So they grew apart. They didn't have a positive relationship. She wanted a lot of the emotional support from him that he just no longer wanted to give her anymore. He was like, look, all I am to you is a paycheck. I go and I work my 2 jobs. I come home, I just want to sleep so I can go back to work. That's all I am. That's all I do. This is the rest of my life. He was absolutely miserable, was going to get divorced. Then she found out she was pregnant with her 3rd child. He canceled the proceedings with his lawyer, and he ended up trying to stay in the marriage for the children. Unfortunately, he had been married to a woman that he just did not like for 7 years. He ended up getting into an affair with another woman that he actually connected and related to, that I think he met at one of his second jobs. The point is, because he wasn't fulfilled in the relationship, he stepped out of the marriage. And then she found out. She divorced him at that point. And then after they were divorced, fast forward, then I meet him. We fall in love. We decide we're going to get married. Initially, he thought he was going to do a traditional role. And I'm like, no, that is not what I want for the rest of my life. I am not domesticated, is what I like to say. I have no problem being the breadwinner. I am looking for a man that can do more than just provide a paycheck. I want a man that can do other things and bring other things to the table and show me other value. And so I'll be honest, it did take a little bit of time for us to get to where we're at today. But now we're in a perfect relationship where we've been married 26 years. We're happily married. Hopefully we'll be married another 26 years, God willing. But, it took us some time for us to break down societal gender roles and for us to decide for what we wanted, how our relationship would work and what those dynamics would be. So I say that just to let women know that there are men out there that can make that transition, that can get out of the mindset that all I have to do is earn a paycheck, maybe cut grass, maybe change oil, but that's it. The woman's going to do all the traditional female roles. And some of these men think women should do this in addition to working a full-time job. And that I definitely think is wrong. So let's face it, it's 2024, a lot's changed. So men, you're going to have to diversify what you bring to a relationship. You're no longer going to be able to say, well, I provide financially and that be enough. No, you've got to do other things if you want to have a happy, fulfilled life with your wife. What are some of the things that women might want, that women might value more so than just a paycheck from a man? So let's talk about that. Emotional support and partnership. So a marriage, whether you think it is or not, a marriage is a partnership. A marriage license is a government contract, period. Regardless of what you think, when you sign a marriage license, you are signing a government contract. You are creating a partnership. So you need to be aware of that. Make sure and be careful who you decide to go into partnership with. Make sure this person is who you want to be with the rest of your life and that you truly have shared values and visions and goals. Because there's a reason why the story goes, divorce is more expensive. It's because it's more worth it. But a divorce is basically breaking up a partnership. You have to divide the assets, all of that. I mean, it's just, a marriage is a partnership. Make sure before you marry someone, you are willing to get into a partnership with them because that's what you're doing. Emotional support. Women are more emotional than men. Men tend to be more logical and analytical. Now, those are stereotypes. Those are not across the board. Those are general comments. So a man can show their value by being emotionally supportive to their partner. That means they got to be there during the ups and the downs. Listen without judgment. Listen and agree without providing commentary. There is nothing more offensive than when I have a challenge and I just want to vent, and then I've got a man that wants to fix it for me or wants to tell me how to fix it. I've been there, done that. I know 99.9% of the time how to fix whatever challenge I'm facing because I've been there, I've seen it, I've dealt with it in the past. I don't need your advice. I just need you to listen. I need you to be a sounding board. I just need to vent. I just need to say it out loud, scream if I need to, shout, get it out. Then I'm good. Thank you for listening. I'll go fix it now. So that's something that, men, just be aware that not every woman wants you to judge or provide a resolution or provide commentary if she's upset and she just needs you to be supportive. Offer encouragement, be positive, and be supportive. All right, moving on. You can see I've got notes again. So I do think about this and I do some research and I talk to a couple people and get feedback and all that before I do these videos. But let's talk about what other value men can bring to a relationship outside of finances. Equity and household responsibilities. Now this is something that is changing and getting better. I don't think it's changing fast enough. I don't think there's equity in household chores yet. I think men do chores. It's the whole, my husband will unload, reload the dishwasher. Everything will be set and ready to go. He will wait until I walk into the room to hit the start button on the dishwasher so that he knows that I know that he loaded the dishwasher and he started it because he waited to start it till I walked in the room. So that way he, quote unquote, gets credit for having unloaded and reloaded the dishwasher. Now, most household chores, including the dishes, are common household chores. If you didn't have a spouse, those dishes would still need to be washed. It's for the family, so it's equal responsibility. Both parties have the responsibility to wash the dishes. It no longer is the female's role and responsibility to keep the house clean and to keep the dishes washed. It is the mutual responsibility between all the adults in the house, as well as, if you have a child that's old enough to do chores. Let your kids unload and reload the dishwasher. But they need to know that whoever lives in a house needs to share equal responsibility of those household chores. So men, unload, reload a dishwasher. We used to joke, yesterday I had to work late. So I'm in the office and I'm working, and my husband peeks in and he says, "Hey, you going to be working for a little bit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to work late today." He's like, "No worries. I'm going to clean the kitchen and then I'm going to cook dinner. I'll let you know when it's ready." And it was wonderful because I was able to continue working and not worry about, what's going to be cooked for dinner. How's it going to get cooked? Am I going to have to deal with all this once I'm done dealing with the work stuff? Instead, I was focused on work. Took me 30 minutes to an hour over to get it all done. And in that 30 minutes to an hour, Thomas had cleaned the kitchen and cooked dinner and it was ready. It was so nice. And I showed him gratitude and thanked him for that. And I think that's something important, both men and women. If you're in a relationship, say thank you, show gratitude, let the other person know that, hey, it's not his responsibility to make sure the kitchen's clean and I have something to eat for dinner every night, any more than it's my responsibility to make sure he has something to eat every night. It is a relationship. It is a shared commitment. But I still show gratitude and thank him when he does nice stuff, and let him know that I appreciate it. And I think that's important, that positive reinforcement. All right, item number 3, respecting ambitions and dreams. So men, you need to diversify your value to your relationship. No longer is just being the breadwinner, bringing home the bacon, making the money enough, because women can do all that also. So if women can financially support themselves and they're independent and they're self-sufficient, what are you going to bring to the table to show value? So to diversify your value, think about, what can you do that's nice above and beyond? Respecting ambitions and dreams is important. So this is probably one of the cornerstone foundations of my relationship with my husband, because I've always been career ambitious and I've always been the breadwinner, and I have no problem with that. I enjoy it. I own 3 companies now, and I do this channel, Women4Wealth. I also have a Heather's Greenhouse YouTube channel that I do. So I have a lot of things going on. I have a lot of things on my plate, and I don't mind that. I don't mind being busy. I enjoy my life, but the things I don't like to do, like the domestic stuff, I have someone that I hire that comes in and cleans the house for us. My husband does a great job. He steps up. He and I tag team the clothes once a week. So we wash, dry, fold, put away the clothes. Typically every Wednesday. Like I said, he will clean the kitchen and he will cook dinner for us a lot of times. I hate cooking. I am not a good cook at all. So him cooking is a huge value to our relationship. So guys, think about things like that. If you've got a woman that is career ambitious and does have career aspirations and dreams, you want to support and you want to foster that and you want to help her. So support your partner's career and her personal goals. Celebrate her achievements. Be genuinely happy for her success. A man who respects and encourages his partner's ambitions shows immense value. And that's what we're talking about today, value. What value can men bring to a relationship when a woman has wealth? If a woman has wealth and she's not financially dependent on a man, what are you men going to bring to the table to bring value to her? Because I do think that relationships, marriages, partnerships are very important to our lives. I get a lot of joy and fulfillment being married to Thomas, and I hope he does being married to me. But we do a lot of non-traditional roles where we support and love each other. And I think it's great and it works for us. And that's the main thing. You have to find in your relationship what works for you and your spouse. So how do you find that? Open communication. You have to have a healthy relationship where you can have open communication and you can have those conversations, where I told my husband, hey, I can't cook. I don't like cooking. I don't want to learn how to cook. This is not something that is anywhere on my radar. I don't want to do it. We can find another route. And he's like, I can cook. How hard can it be? And you know what? He figured it out, and he is really good at it, and he enjoys it. And so that worked well, but I had to have a place where I could go to him and feel safe enough to say, hey, I know I'm a female and society says that I should be able to cook, but I can't. I never learned. I never wanted to learn. I have zero desire to do this. Susie Homemaker is not in my DNA. And I was able to have that conversation with him because we have open communication. And he is a good listener. He will listen without judging and without making comment. And I think that's great. And because of that, we're able to work through, challenges and come up with, okay, what works for us? We don't care what society says. We don't care what other people say. What works for us in our relationship? And then what we do is we work together to find that determination. If you work together through challenges and struggles, or you work together on a common goal or a common dream, that builds trust in your relationship. That strengthens your partnership. Then you're able to have a much stronger bond. And, Thomas and I have been married 26 years. You don't get to 26 years if you don't know how to communicate. Building a strong friendship is number 5. So you want to be your spouse's best friend. You want to be that person that they love to laugh and hang out with, and they want to share life with, and it's a positive thing. Recently, Thomas and I went to Stone Mountain, Georgia. I'm terrified of heights. There was a gondola to take you to the top of the hill. I was terrified, but I knew he wanted to do it, and I knew he wanted to get on it. So you know what? I sucked it up. I got on that gondola. I was as positive and as happy as I could be, and I made it a great experience for him. And he realized, and he commented after the fact, how grateful he was to me that I had done that, because he knew how afraid I was. He knew how terrified I was. But I did that anyway because I know he wanted to do it. So there are going to be points in your relationship where, you know what? This person that I'm married to, they're my partner. They're my husband or my wife. But they're also my best friend. I want to be the best person I can be for them. But also I want to do things special and go above and beyond that just makes them happy and brings them joy. So share interest is probably the big one on that. If you've got a best friend, then you're going and you're doing things that you both like and enjoy. And have fun together. Spend time together. That's important. If you're like my husband was in his first marriage where he worked 2 jobs, he wasn't around, they had no shared interest, they weren't friends. You don't want to be in that type of a relationship. That's unsustainable. Life is too short and precious for you not to enjoy it. This is kind of moving into a little bit of relationship advice, not just financial advice. But I think it's important. I think it's key to having a strong relationship so that you can build on your financial wealth, hopefully together as a partnership. So let's get back on the finances a little bit. You want to become financially independent. You want to become wealthy. And you need a spouse that also shares that desire and that goal. You need to work together and plan for the future together. What do you want to do? Are you at a point where it's early in your relationship and you want to buy a house and that's your next goal? If that's the goal, then you have to work together. Together you have to decide, okay, we have a mutual budget. You need to set aside your down payment. You need to set aside an emergency savings fund. How do you get that? How do you save up enough to have an emergency savings fund and have money for a down payment in addition to that? Well, you have to have a common goal. You have to work together. You have to know, okay, I bring this much money in from my job. You bring this much money in from your job. All right, let's add that up. That's the combined income. Is there any side hustles that we can do? Is there anything you can do or I can do or we can do together as a side hustle? I've got friends that have a Christmas ornament company. So together they do this side hustle where they make Christmas ornaments, and they have a machine and they program a design, and the machine cuts the design into wood and makes Christmas ornaments. So a lot of times she will go in and she'll do the orders and the packaging and the shipping. He does the design, setting up the machine, running the machine, and then categorizing and storing them to where it's easy for her when she comes in to fill an order. So they do this together. It's a common goal. It's a common company. They run it together. They do it together. And it's not a burden on either one of them because they do it together and it's a partnership. So look at that too. Are there any side hustles you can do? For example, I create content, but Thomas is the editor and poster. So he edits and he posts and I create the content. Now, he also does his own content creation. Thomas is extremely talented. He has his own YouTube channel. He has a channel called Fat Guy Fitness. I think you should go check it out. It's a lot more than just fitness. It's total overall health, mentally, emotionally, as well as physically. And I think he does a great job with it. He also does recording. So he's a singer-songwriter. He doesn't do it as a side hustle. He's not doing it to make any money at this point. He just enjoys creating music and recording it and sharing it with family and friends. And so he is very creative. He loves having that outlet. He works as IT for one of my companies, but, he's more of a creative soul. So he likes having that creative outlet. And I think that's why he enjoys doing the editing and the posting of a lot of these videos. And I thank him for that because that is not my niche. If I didn't have him, I'd have to pay somebody else to do it for me because I don't enjoy that part of it. The content creation, coming up with what I'm going to talk about, researching it, putting together the notes, creating these videos, I enjoy that part. I enjoy Heather's greenhouse where I walk around my garden and I talk about gardening. What am I doing now? What's going on in the garden. I enjoy that aspect of it. So we really complement each other, I think. I think that's another great thing about our relationship is that the things that I'm good at and I enjoy and I like are different than what he's good at and he enjoys and he likes. So we come together and as a unit, we're able to partner together to do things better and beyond what we could have as individuals. So that's another important thing, as you're looking at shared financial goals. Do you come together and do something together as a side hustle? Are you supporting each other in your side hustles and in your career to make more money and to climb that ladder because there's two pieces to getting wealthy. The first piece is your income. You need to have the highest income you can, and you need to be looking for ways to increase that income, be it climb the corporate ladder, do something more in your career, or side hustles, whatever that is, or a combination of multiple things. You need to increase your income, and then you also need to control your spending. And that takes a partnership too, because, there are times that I'm like, man, I don't want to cook. I don't want to clean the kitchen. I just don't want to deal with that. I'd much rather order out, just have it order something online, have it delivered to the front porch, eat it, throw it away. Once we're done and we're good, we're done. The challenge with that is it's expensive where we are, and I'm sure it's expensive where you are too. It is 3 to 4 times the cost to buy food and have it delivered than it would be for me to buy the raw ingredients and cook it myself. So you have to think about that. So there are times that I had a challenging day. I'm tired. I don't want to fool with it. But Thomas is like, you know what? I'll do it tonight. I know you're tired. I know you had a long day. I know you're not even done yet. Don't worry about it. I'll do this while you finish up. You focus on that. I'll focus on this. So there's a little bit of divide and conquer. So I'm able to maintain my budget and keep my food line item down, because on days that I would have overspent because I would have ordered food, he steps up and he cooks. So we work together on that common financial goal of we want to increase income and reduce cost. Because if you have more income than you have cost, you're living below your means, then you're able to invest more. The more you're able to invest, the sooner you'll find wealth. All right, so number 7, personal growth. Continue to work on your own personal growth, whether it's learning new skills, pursuing hobbies, or improving your health, showing that you are committed to growing as an individual as well as in your relationship. I think that's important. As a couple, as a partnership, as a friendship, you want to do things together and you want to grow together. But you also need to grow as individuals so that you constantly add more value to yourself, so that when you come to the table as a partnership, you're adding more to that combined relationship. And that combined relationship can accomplish a lot more than it could have prior to each individual's working on themselves. So there you have it, folks. That is my list of ideas and things that I think a man can do to bring more value to a relationship. If a woman is financially independent, man still wants to be in a relationship with a woman. Women want to be in a relationship with men, but it has to be a mutually supportive relationship. So guys, women no longer need you for financial support. What else are you going to bring to the table? Diversify your value. Find what else you can do for her so that you still have value in her life, and she will do the same for you. She will work to grow as an individual and grow as a couple. So let me know. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else that you think a man can do to help bring more value to a relationship outside of just financially? You know, we'll run through it real quick again. So we went through emotional support and partnership, equity and household responsibilities, respecting ambitions and dreams, open communication, building a stronger friendship, shared financial goals, and the last one's personal growth. So those are 7 things that I came up with from talking to other people and doing some research. If I missed anything, please let me know. I appreciate it.